Until 20 years ago, what occupied the attention of many scientists and physicists was the changing of metals. They then discovered that it was possible to turn certain metals into others, but they required great heat. But it's possible even to turn, physically, to turn lead into gold. After all, they're all atomic. There isn't a great deal of difference atomically between lead and gold. But that has long been bypassed. What now occupies some of the greatest minds on the planet is this particular question. Is that, as they now know, the neurons in the brain produce electricity, which then fires down through the spinal cord and into the nerves. It's what makes movement possible, for example. Well, wonderful as that may be, that isn't what they're concerned about. Their question is, where was this electricity before the brain fired it? You see, if you make the intention, no matter how slight, to like move your little finger, it causes what looks like an electric storm in the brain. I mean, it can be seen on film. Bright light, which then flashes down faster than thought, literally, no pun, down the spinal column, and then it fires like branches. If you think of the spinal column as the trunk, then it goes to the branches, which are the nerves that will control and reach the little finger, which will then cause the spasm, which is movement. Now you do this without the slightest real effort. And yet this is stupendous, because what is holding the greatest minds is, where was that electricity before the intention was made to move the finger? After all, the brain is not a battery, so it's not stored there. Neither is it a generator. You don't suddenly see, something turning and then up comes electricity and it does something. So this is of immense interest to physicists and scientists, and now even to new physicists and things. Now, of course, the yogis, the mystics, and the alchemists, because they are all different ways of saying the same thing, have known about this for years and know how. Remember, electricity was always invisible. It was only recently that the conditions were made for it to become visible. Copper wire, etc. In fact, there's this wonderful, I think it's Eliphas Levi, but I could be wrong, but it talks about taking a cat and a piece of amber, the mineral amberstone, into a dark cupboard and stroking the cat, and you will see these living sparks, this miniature lightning come off. So the alchemists and the yogis, knew full well that this charge is from the upper worlds, whether you want to call it etheric or astral or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's resident there. It needs a place for it to come through, for it to act. And in alchemy, as in yoga, the idea is that through the thousand-petaled lotus, which is a lovely name for the brain cortex, isn't it? From the thousand-petaled lotus, by the act of intention, notice it just takes an intention, the will to do something. It flashes down into the cortex, where the fire of the gods, as they called it, as a storm, and then the lightning of the gods comes down and moves, and so things happen. All by the act of intention. What is intention? Will. By an act of will. But it's a gentle act of will. The trouble is, when most people try to take up yoga, and magic for that matter, is when they think of will, they think it's like, and they'll sit there sweating and wondering why the only thing they ever develop is a headache. Intention is much more suave. It's more subtle than that. Intention is a gentle act of intention upon what is desired and just gently holding it. And by being open to it, so it flashes down through the consciousness of the practitioner to whatever it is. Whether it's to charge a talisman, whether it's to transmute metal, whether it's to heal somebody. This is the gentle act of intention. And why is this intention gentle? Because it's based upon certainty. It's not based upon faith or silly personal willpower. It's about opening up the mind to the great consciousness so that it can flow through the practitioner and bring about the results. This is why it's so important that people get good instruction in alchemy and yoga, in fact in all of the sacred sciences. But I can only deal with the ones that I specialise in. And that's why Tower of Alchemy, an advanced guide to the great work, is literally a manual. Manual, by the way, comes from the word manus, meaning hand. It's a handbook, meaning it tells you how to do something. Of course, this book is now 20 years old, although it's been updated in this latest edition. And I, of course, was being taught and then in turn teaching alchemy myself even before that. So that's why, because since now there's more ability to communicate also with Tower of Alchemy in its current form, we will start to resurrect doing online courses, Zoom classes perhaps, and certainly that the things that were the most meaningful until these things got stopped by the coronavirus, was that we would hold alchemical retreats, 5-day retreats, where we wouldn't just learn it, you would have learnt it before, but we'd actually do it. In fact, we would do some of the tinctures, the creation of some of the alchemical tinctures for healing and things which people could then take away with them. So stay in touch and we can study the great work together.